From the very first time the human climbed to the top of a tall mountain, from the time he reached the shores of the ocean, far in the distance he saw a hazy line where sky, land, or sea meet. The line where all he could see ends. From that moment he succumbed to the strange force of desire and curiosity to discover and to learn what is beyond that line, that distant horizon. We all are the descendants of those first discoverers. We all inherited that strange force that makes us climb, sail, and fly to that horizon, to see with our own eyes what is beyond. We want to fill that void created by our curiosity and hunger for knowledge. We dream of places we never saw or even knew they existed. We dream of ways how to reach our goals. Lily and Detlef, they opened the cage of their limitations. They spread their wings and flew far to see and to share their feelings, their experience with those of common interests and dreams, the dreamers of this world. This is their flight of fantasy that became a reality.
We are almost at the end of the first part of our flight around the world. We spent 2 years in the air, but we get never bored by the views. There's always something to see, something to take picture of. Clouds, ocean below, the land. But on occasions, as in the movie, my mind makes a visual transition, and what I see are the memories. My first contact with Detlef, I remember laying and dreaming, asking myself, would our wish come true? I saw myself in the cockpit with Detlef high above the land. I have to pinch myself to make sure that I'm not dreaming now, that we are really flying on our wings of dreams. I can still hear the sound of drilling machine, the sound of rivets penetrating the aluminum, the hundreds of little and large parts laying all over the hangar. And now, all those parts are all around us in a one single creation, our aircraft. I feel so happy. How can I forget that beginning? By the time I could absorb what was happening, I found myself in Germany, meeting Detlef, the man that will change my life. I suddenly realized that Detlef's dreams and plans to fly around the world are truly possible.
On the top of the mountain he stood, launching his paper aeroplanes. Like a farmer would throw the seeds far onto the soil, hoping they would sprout and blossom into the harvest. His paper aeroplanes were seeds of his dreams. High above, a glider was soaring, the flower of his hopes. That's how his wishes would look once fully grown, cared for by his learning and watered by the sweat of his work and the desire of his heart.
It takes a dreamer to come up with an idea to fly around the world in a small aircraft. But it takes a very special person to believe it and to dedicate himself to accomplish such an unbelievable project. Detlef Heun is this person, an experienced commercial pilot and instructor, the man who had his first pilot license at the age of 14, way before he was legally allowed to have a driver's license. He is the man with a vision and a dream, a deadly combination. It is a disease of adventurers. His flights around Europe in planes and gliders were the first indications of what was on Detlef's mind. He is a skillful pilot in every way, but he is also a realist. Detlef knew that a flight like that cannot be done by one person. But he was not alone anymore. Lily, a new friend and partner, entered the picture. The grand plan was in works. There was, however, one more obstacle to overcome besides planning this enormous flight. The most important one, the plane. There was no plane. What kind? What type? What would be the most suitable to accomplish such a demanding flight? Could they even afford to purchase it? Many questions had to be answered. It took a while to consider all the options and choices. After all, this was not a weekend flight over Europe with many airfields scattered along the route. There was no one to give them advice, at least no one who could say, "I have done it." The decision was made to build the airplane from a kit. Van's RV-7 was the choice, light and fast. Some changes have been made. The engine was installed 10 centimeters more to the front to accommodate the equipment and supplies. 2 more fuel tanks were added to have a range of 12 hours, and an engine running on autogas or gasoline was the choice. Why, you ask? Aviation fuel is not always available in many parts of the world. And that special day arrived back in Germany when a truck full of crates appeared at the doorsteps. From this moment, there was no turning back. It was their dream, their savings packed in those crates. From now on, only work, sweat, and whatever else it takes to finish it. Because of their flight plans and the high popularity of general aviation in the USA, they decided to move the project across the ocean and finish building the plane in Florida. It is here where their long flight will begin. It took a whole year to finish the plane in Punta Gorda, Florida, on the southern tip of the United States. 1 year of hard work, and still it was a great time to remember forever. They were new here, hoping to explore the country, to meet new people and finish the plane. Their plane is fully packed. It is difficult to believe that everything fits in. The life raft, survival suits, camera equipment, tent, sleeping bags. They even have 2 bicycles with them. It is an incredible little plane. One year, and it seemed only like a month since they've arrived here. Not knowing anyone, and now they were leaving friends. Friends that supported them in this big goal. New friends. They can still hear their laughter. What a happy and at the same time a sad moment. In a short time, this had become their second home. Well, their first home. In Germany, they left everything behind, except for their dream. What a beautiful morning. It is very early. Nobody is at the airport except for a few friends who came to say goodbye and see them take off. The friends they were celebrating with just hours ago, they have to leave behind. What a nice group of people. It is hard to leave them, but the horizon is gone.
We're going to christen the airplane.
How many times did we taxied by all these hangars? How many times I wondered what it would feel like to start our journey, the journey around the world. Today, everything seems so different. It is an unbelievable feeling, an unbelievable sight. The plane is real. We are sitting in it, taxiing for the takeoff. This is our plane, our new home for a long time.
It was the morning of March 30th, 2009, the day they were awaiting for so long. A new creation of their dreams and hard work was taking them to that hazy line of the distant horizon. It was time for their little plane to fly. Like that eagle hopping at the edge of the nest, their little plane lifted them into the sky. They gave it all. Now it was the plane's turn to show what it can do, whether it could carry them on its broad wings to faraway destinations. They opened the first page of their book of adventures. The pages were still blank, but soon they will be filled with images and the stories for all to see. Their flight became reality. They headed southeast towards the Bahamas, the first leg of their long journey. It is their first flight over open water. They cannot believe the beauty of the view. It is not a long flight to reach their destination. It is a 3-hour flight, but they do not want it to end. They watch the beaches, coral heads under the water. They watch the waves rushing under them. Island by island is passing by. They counted each airstrip while flying over. They do not want to miss one view of this beautiful beginning. It felt as if they flew into another world where beauty, peace, and love rules the day. They made it safely to the first stop, Exuma Island. Lily and Detlef, their flight on the wings of dreams is not only the flight of the plane circling the globe, it is also a flight of their souls. Souls of two adventurous people. As they built their plane, so was built their relationship and love for each other. It was here in the beautiful Bahamas where their love culminated in the union. Now their great moment arrived here on Exumus, white, quiet beach, where they said yes. Yes to each other, to their lives together, and to their friendship. It was here where they made the solemn promise to each other, to share, to enjoy, and love. It was an important stop, but even on this occasion, they had to solve logistical problems. They were strangers in a strange place. Who was going to marry them? And who is going to be a witness? And this is what is so beautiful about their flight. In a time of need, nice people will offer help and advice, no matter where one is. Among them, Sue and Lorraine. They were the organizers, witnesses, and assistants in their intimate and improvised wedding ceremony. It was an unbelievably romantic moment, the highlight of their journey. And Sue and Lorraine will always stay in their memories. They became their newest friends. Then, like the restless albatross, they flew high on the wings of dreams. They flew along the chain of islands, further and further south. Islands that will always mean so much to them. Island after island zoomed by under them. With a little bit of sadness, they left the Bahamas, carrying beautiful memories of precious moments. Ahead was the stretch of the Atlantic that was leading them to the hot climate of the Caribbean. Somewhere down below to the left were Turks and Caicos. Far to the right, the island of Cuba. And just in front, still hidden by the clouds and haze, slowly revealing its shape, the island of Hispaniola. Hispaniola. Just the pronouncement of its name awakens the imagination and stories of the distant history of discoverers. Christopher Columbus, struggling with his fleet across the vastness of the ocean. What would he have thought, having the opportunity to see the island from this perspective? Having the opportunity to use the GPS. How much has changed in those 500 years. They feel His presence in their minds. They also feel those anxious moments, wondering what they will see in the next moments, hidden behind the clouds. Like His sailors climbing on the rigging of His ships, penetrating the haze with their eyes, expecting that loud shout, "Terra, land!" And land appeared before them. It was a great contrast to the flat, low-lying Bahamas, where the highest island is only 200 feet tall. Here, this huge island, a mixture of lowlands and high mountains, was welcoming their arrival. Beautiful scenery was leading them to a small airfield, an idyllic little place near a beautiful beach just minutes away. They planned a short stopover here, 3-4 days at the most. But who can resist this charming place with a touch of Spanish flavor? They are not conquistadors, but like them, they also quickly changed their plans. Why leave? Mañana is the word of each day. And mañana became a week, a second, and a third, and the fourth. They knew that they had to leave, but they also knew that they will be back, for sure. The way of life, the slow pace, so different from the hustle and bustle of large cities, this was a great attraction that never left their minds. Perhaps it was the charm of the old architecture that gives the city an unmistakable feeling of the era of the discoverers. You just squint your eyes and look at the statue of Columbus, and you transcend centuries into the past. The sounds are the same, the aroma, and the scenery are just like he saw it so long ago. Extend your hand. You may feel his presence. It is their turn to conquer this vast continent with the airplane. They continue their journey on the footsteps of the old adventurers. Guyana. Who would have thought they would ever be here? If it would not have been for Mike, an airline pilot and a real Guyanese guy, they would not have dared to venture into that country. With general aviation just about non-existent, it would have been deceiving and unwise to land. Regulations are strict, and permits are almost impossible to obtain. Guyana, the land of many waters. What else could they have done as to begin the Guyanese journey rushing up the river, searching for that treasure? And treasure is what most of the locals and strangers are looking for: gold. Essequibo River, with its tributaries, is the heart of life. With many people living along the shores, gold was discovered, and Guyana became the modern-day Klondike, or proverbial El Dorado. Perhaps it is the only place on this planet where an old-fashioned gold rush is still going on. Gold prospectors from all over the place are trying their luck, looking for the mother lode. The river is full of floating enterprises, consisting of large and small dredging boats of questionable designs, some sophisticated, some primitive and simple. Dredging, pumping thousands of gallons of water, sifting tons of the bottom soil and muck. All are hoping for that lucky find. They zoom along the river, stopping and talking and unveiling the still unknown. They continue up the river. There is much more to discover. A stop in a mysterious place, the rainforest, at least a part of the huge and vast green ocean. They listen and observe everything. Their short stay in Guyana has ended. In spite of having been there only a few days, they savored the tropical hot and humid climate, as hot as their peppers. A last glance to the colorful markets, full of exotic foods. A goodbye to the only English-speaking country of South America. Goodbye to their excellent host and friend, Mike, and other hosts. And even to the president of this interesting country. Goodbye, Guyana. And from now on, only adios. They have seen and experienced the hot, humid rainforest up close on the ground. Now they look at it from the bird's eye view. A green, beautiful carpet is flowing below. They watch it in silence, nervously. One eye is on the instruments, the other searching for a possible place to land if things go wrong. Nervousness is filling the cockpit. Ears are straining, listening to the sound of the engine. What if? What good is their training for a crash landing on the sea here? On the green sea, the life raft does not help. It is a deceiving beauty if you fly over it in a small plane. Few patches of open space appear here and there, but they are too short for landing. Afternoon storms, which are so frequent, are always a danger. Fly in the morning only, stranger. This is Brazil's Amazonia.
Goodbye, Brazil. A part of us remained in your country.
New memories on top of memories are filling their minds, unforgettable and unique. The bag of friendships is being filled, and each landing brings with it a new experience.
We often wonder what life will bring to us in the future. Because of this uncertainty, Lily and Detlef decided to go after their dream now. Who knows if they will have the opportunity and the will to do it later. Life is a mystery, and nothing in it is guaranteed. Life sometimes deals us a card that changes everything. A disaster struck in the middle of Lily's dream. A horrible illness. Will their dream stay only a dream? Her life is on their mind more than their flight now. Without dream, life is so poor. But without life, there is no dream. What is more precious? For 5 months, this crisis played havoc with Lily and Detlef. As the saying goes, the show must go on. This was Lily's and Detlef's motto after Lily's bout with cancer. Lily's lost voice was slowly coming back. Too much was invested into this beautiful project to give it up now. Lily's prognosis was great. The medical emergency was hopefully behind for good. A time was lost, but not a dream. Argentina was waiting.
It was a happy feeling for Lily and Detlef, finally returning to their beloved airplane, waiting for them in Argentina, waiting for them to take off for a long flight south to the cold climate of Patagonia and then to the bottom of the world, the South Pole. Lots of work has to be done on the plane. Additional equipment was to be installed and tested. The skis. After all, the destination was Antarctica. No skis, no landing or takeoff on the frozen continent. Hopefully, conditions at the base will not be bad, but down there, weather changes very rapidly. It is so critical that the skis are installed perfectly. Detlef is busy doing annual inspection of the plane. Hundreds of items have to be checked and rechecked, mechanical and structural, electronics, cables and wires, fuel lines. It is a long list. Dominican Republic was a lucky place for Lily and Detlef. Not only that they met a friend, Mike, from Guyana, but they also befriended Argentinian Roberto, who made their stay in Buenos Aires most enjoyable. Roberto was a great and helpful host. Detlef did not seem to be very comfortable in the small cockpit without the doors, but it was fun buzzing in this thing after such a long time of being grounded. They both had a great time and a few good laughs watching each other flying in this flying machine. After the fun, it was time to get back to work. There was only a small time window in January suitable for the flight over the Southern Ocean. Both Lily and Detlef were rushing to have the plane ready. There was no time to waste. Every minute is precious. Roberto introduced them to his friend, Gustavo. Gustavo was instrumental in helping to get the flight permission to Argentinian base Marambio on Antarctica, and helped to arrange to ship the skis and 2 barrels of fuel for the planned flight to the South Pole and back. Gustavo offered his apartment in the hangar to Lily and Detlef. They felt grateful to have a place to stay. Any extra time they had was spent enjoying comradeship with other pilots at this small airport. It was a short but pleasant visit in Buenos Aires, and the list of friends was growing. With their best wishes of good luck from the Argentinians, little RV-7 lifted again to the skies. Scenery changed rapidly as they flew toward their destination. As it many times happens on any great adventure, when all seems to go well, something unexpected ruins the fun. The following is a simulation of the events. 2 hours into the flight from Buenos Aires, Detlef suddenly yells out, "We have to land! Engine is overheating badly! Look for the nearest airport, Lily!" As Lily described it, the GPS seemed to work in slow motion, trying to pinpoint the nearest airfield, about 12 miles away, Azul. "Try to make it to the airfield," Lily was urging Detlef. "We may lose the engine altogether." Detlef was visibly worried. Lily saw the small airfield in the corner of her eye. Azul was in front of them. It was hard to diagnose the problem, but there was no shortage of opinions. New friends tried to help in their predicament, each with a different idea. They were lucky this time. This incident proved that there is always the chance for things to go wrong. Many of the pilots disagreed on what caused the malfunction of the engine. However, they all agreed on this one thing: make sure the plane is fixed before flying south. Airports are very scarce beyond the 40th latitude, the Roaring Forties, as it is known in sailing circles, the windiest place on this earth. It happens to them almost every place they land. The short planned visit changes to a longer stay. Azul was no different. This time it was the engine that gave the reason, but half of the reason was the friendly Argentinians. Perhaps it was the engine's idea to meet new people, so it quit on purpose. They spent 3 beautiful weeks in Azul, but again, it was time to continue. Time was critical. The periods of good weather in Patagonia are short. It looked as if the South American continent protested being squeezed into such a narrow point, so it pushed the pampas into the high hills and then into rugged mountains. To the west, snow-covered peaks of the Andes. To the east, the South Atlantic Ocean. And ahead, the end of South America. Cape Horn making the exclamation point behind the sentence, "No more land." Vegetation was getting very sparse. Not many trees, just the deserted land. Once in a while, perhaps only once in a lifetime, every pilot gets to test his skills to the extreme. For Detlef, it was Rio Gallegos, their short stopover before reaching their destination on the southbound route. It was here that they really experienced flying in the Roaring Forties. To land a light plane in a 45 knots crosswind can be a hair-raising experience, even for the most skilled pilots. This time, it was not Detlef tossing his paper airplane. This time, it was Lily and Detlef in RV-7 being tossed as a paper airplane. It was here, before the landing, where winds and vibration caused one of the wing-mounted cameras to wiggle out of the bracket and crash somewhere below. Some valuable video footage has been lost. Once again, they were treated by their hosts as true friends. It would be difficult to repay their hospitality, but they will always be part of their lives and memories. The last stop on the southbound flight is approaching. Ushuaia, rugged, beautiful city. The last on this continent, last on the Tierra del Fuego, the land of fire. They were so fortunate to have the opportunity to see this beauty surrounding them from the air. One more time, they think of those early explorers and discoverers. This time it was Fernando Magellan who dared to venture into these inhospitable latitudes. Great respect belongs to him and to all who risked their lives, and to those who lost their lives rounding the Cape Horn on the way to the Pacific Ocean.
And like them centuries ago, we suddenly stand in front of the question: should we attempt to fly across the Southern Ocean to Antarctica, or should we not? They're waiting for us at the Argentinian base Marambio. Our skis are there and the fuel, but it is already March. We are way behind the schedule. Low pressure systems are already racing across the Southern Ocean. We can make it there, but what if we get stranded for 6 months? What then?
They felt like mountain climbers just below the summit of Mount Everest. Just a few steps more. But there is no time. With the advice of the experts and with the sad and heartbreaking feeling, they decided not to fly to Antarctica, not this time. But they will be back. Lily and Detlef spent several days in the area of Patagonia, exploring the city and this interesting land at the bottom of the world, with its beautiful wild nature, decorated by icebergs and glaciers. They did find some comfort in the view of these places. But the disappointment of not being able to fly to Antarctica was deep. It was time to make a 180-degree turn, to fly north to Bariloche, the last city on Argentinian territory, before flying deep into the Andes and Chile, to follow the contour of the western edge of South America. It usually happens at the time when one comes to a turning point or a crossroad in life or some giant undertaking, that we step back and look at what we have done from a different perspective. It was here at Bariloche that they realized how much they accomplished in spite of the Antarctica setback. Maybe it is the ruggedness and remoteness of the area and its geographical location that brings out the true feelings of the place. As if the giant lakes they flew above reflected not only the tall surrounding peaks, but also the human inner soul. Its connection to nature and the desire to see how beautiful this planet really is. It is almost impossible to have no desire to share this experience with those who cannot do it. They loved Bariloche, but now they were stuck there. That beautiful nature showed its ugly and dangerous side. Just across the mountain range, an earthquake struck Chile. Suddenly, the beauty they admired so much was turned into tragedy and suffering. The flight to Chile was halted. There was no fuel, no food for many who were affected. Bariloche became their new home for a while. The episode Argentina has sadly come to its conclusion in Bariloche, the last town on Argentinian soil. Like many places they have visited before, it all seems to repeat itself. Every visit seems to have the same script. First, it is a little apprehension about the place. The same questions will pop up. What people are they going to meet? Will they make new friends? Are they going to be friendly? What new beauty is awaiting the eye and the lens of their camera? Then come formalities and the usual curiosity about their flight, so rare in these faraway places. Not long after that, all they meet become friends, offering their hospitality, advice, and help. And then the worst moment comes, the time of departure. When the friendships become strong, it is time to leave. It took a full 10 days before Lily and Detlef finally took off for Chile. It was an uneasy flight, knowing that tragedy and hardship was unfolding down below, the aftermath of a giant earthquake that struck Chile so viciously. It seems the flight is always being delayed by one reason or another, but they had to push on in spite of the adversities. They realized that they may run into problems because of the disaster in Chile. Shortages of food, fuel, and water are always the result of nature's fury. They flew high first. Only the highest peaks of the Andes were showing their tops above the carpet of clouds. Majestic sight, but the same uneasiness they had during the flight over the Amazon rainforest occupied their minds. There is no place to land. It was in some way a scary flight, so different from any place they visited so far. They thought about the tragic crashes of planes that have flown over these mountains in the past. One somehow cannot avoid thoughts like that when exposed to such possibility. In spite of the occasional dark thought, they shared the admiration for beauty and the ruggedness of the Andes. Somewhere in the distance, condors are soaring among the peaks of these mountains. It is during moments like these that one really appreciates the opportunity to be one with nature, to feel free physically and spiritually. It was an amazing view when they flew by the peak of El Tronador. It felt as if they could touch the snow-covered mountain. Far in the distance, they saw the classic shape of a volcano, Pujehue, another testament of the violence of nature. They did not talk much. Like in a hypnotic trance, they stared at this overwhelming scenery. Maybe they were expecting some sounds to come out of these mountains. Many thoughts were racing through their minds. It was no surprise to customs officials to welcome and clear a small aircraft flying in from abroad. General aviation is well developed in Chile. Small planes fly in and out frequently. What was surprising to them during the inspection of the luggage was the amount of it. How does one pack so much stuff into such a small aircraft? As if some magician kept pulling rabbits out of his black hat, there seemed to be no end to it. Is there more? After clearing customs, RV-7 flew north on the invitation from Eduardo, who knew of their flight. Puronque, a small German community in Chile, was their destination. Now the Chileans played the roles of hosts and magicians. It was a surprise like no other for Detlef and Lily, but mostly for Detlef. Perhaps Eduardo thought that Detlef is homesick for Germany, and so he decided to import an entire German town, including the flying club, into Chile. If the volcano was not so prominent in the background, one would have to believe that by some magic wand they were transported to a small German town. Everyone enjoyed listening to Detlef's stories in the German language, and Detlef could not stop talking. After all, it was his first opportunity since Guyana to be able to discuss things and to be understood. This place must have been the highlight of Detlef's flight. Isla Mocha is some 200 kilometers north of Puronque, another stop on the journey. Another friend was to wait for them at the airstrip. Instead, a shocking surprise was awaiting them. There was no friend and no town. Rubble, destroyed houses all over the place. A tsunami, the result of the earthquake, had hit this beautiful remote place. They looked for the friend, for some place to eat. If you want to feel lonely, desperate, and hopeless, this was surely the place to be. They never learned what happened to their friend. A stranger approached, seeing that they were lost, in need of assistance, asking what they were looking for. Some food, something to eat was the answer. In spite of his family being stricken by the same disaster, they were offered food and a place to stay. This was the moment when one can be proud of being part of humanity that still exists in some places, when one helps and shares with another the last of his possessions. It was time to move on from this place. They could not offer any help, and they sure were not going to put more pressure on these nice, generous people. The plane turned north along the coast with the Pacific Ocean on the left and the Andes on their right. No GPS was needed. From one isolated place they flew to Atacama Desert, the desert of all deserts. The emptiness is beyond comprehension. It was here at Arica where they requested permission to fly to Peru. It took forever to get the permit for Peru. Lily and Detlef had planned to fly around Peru. They soon found out that this is not North America or Europe. Permit here means fly in and fly out. That was it for Peru. If someone jokingly said that our planet is spliced or sewn together from two equal halves, the reply would have been, of course. Lily and Detlef just flew into that country where that invisible seam runs across. They have seen the huge monuments sitting on that invisible line. City of the middle of Earth. Even though it was fascinating to stand on the equator, their purpose was to see the country and the group of islands laying far offshore, so unusual and historically so important that one has to make a great effort to get a permit to fly to that remote paradise. And so they traveled by bus to the capital city to obtain necessary papers. It takes much longer down at the equator to go through the red tape and delays, and so they waited and traveled through this interesting city and different places of this small country full of history and natural wonders. The city of Quito is full of life and interesting people with their different culture and customs. Spanish and French architecture from the era long gone by is decorating this great place. They enjoyed short excursions, but the thoughts were always on the flight to Galapagos. It really felt so unusual and foreign to Lily and Detlef that to obtain a seemingly simple flight permit is such a nightmare. Bureaucracy can discourage even the most determined people. Lily and Detlef had to abandon plans to fly across Ecuador, and so they concentrated on preparations for the flight to Galapagos. Logistics are something else also. One is left to his own ingenuity, effort, and luck to be prepared for any contingency and unexpected situations. One more delay due to the weather, but then it was time to fly. A last necessary step by the airport official was fumigating the plane. Every extra moment at the airport made them more uncomfortable, as this was the flight in full battle gear survival suits and lots of sweat dripping from the heat. It is a long flight. Sky and clouds surround their little space. Way down below, a vast sea is shining. Humming of the engine was their music, and they are the composers of this great performance. They talk and discuss this masterpiece with wings, the wings of dreams. Detlef is piloting and watching to be sure that all is running smoothly. The engine is the orchestra that is playing the Rhapsody of Dreams. It cannot fail. It is a tiring but pleasant flight. They eat and drink a little, a sandwich and few grapes to quench the thirst. Then back to their thoughts.
A strange but so interesting place was awaiting: Galapagos Islands. How different this world is from the green prairies and lush forests on the other side of the continent. An historical natural marvel studied by so many. It was as if they had flown through a time tunnel into the distant past. Did the time stand still during all those centuries? The place is so remote that it is difficult for one to understand this jewel of evolution. Creatures are so different and interesting out here, laying or slowly moving around as if they enjoyed the noon siesta. Galapagos, Darwin's school grounds. To be honest, they remembered the geography lessons about the Galapagos from long ago. But those days, no one cared about some speck of land in the middle of nowhere. And look at them now, absorbing this place as if it was their ancestral home. They even exchanged glances with iguanas, seals, and the birds. The time moves slowly. They learned a great lesson here. No school or professor was needed. What an experience that they cannot forget it.
Returning to the United States felt like returning home. After all, this was the place where their little plane got its wings, where it took flight for the very first time. One would like to believe that even that little plane somehow acquired homing sense, like the birds have when returning to their nesting grounds after a long winter in the southern latitudes. They flew across the USA from one end to another, visiting different places and making friends with many people of similar interests and dreams. They were people of all walks of life. Simple people that gave their flight meaning and life. Hardworking people of America that made this country so great, working and enjoying life. There is no other country in the world where general aviation is so popular. It was this flight at the end of their long journey that allowed them to look at their experience from a different perspective. Now they could see and feel what is so important: freedom to fly to any place they wish without wasting time, waiting for permits for days, not knowing when they will be granted. How lucky you are, Americans. You have a beautiful country full of wonders, a free world. Do not let it become history. You worked and fought for your freedom. Do not let it disappear. Freedom is beautiful but fragile, like the wings of an exotic butterfly. Keep those wings free, like the wings of dreams. It took 1 year to fly around South America. It would have taken another year to really see all of the United States. But they did get a glimpse of the real America, one you do not see in the headlines of TV news or from 10,000 feet high. The America with its people who gave the land its life and value. Small towns and villages, fields, farms and forests. Places to have a little fun. Thousands of airfields scattered across this huge country were waiting to be visited, and not even one permit is necessary. This is the real America, the aviator's paradise. America and its traditions which give it such distinct character. Places of fame and beauty. Places of American history.
I've been sitting here since daybreak. Heart's good to get away, spend the day where eagles fly. On this blowy fell side, under changing skies, I lie, watching eagles fly and sparkle, and down below the crystal stream does flow, sending sound waves to heaven as she goes. 4,000 feet above, embraced in their flight of love, they glide, two lovers of the sky. Fly, fly on you golden prince of the sky, as I lie here entranced in the magic as you glide, and time, it just floats by where eagles fly. Fly. breaks the skyline and rides the scented breeze, and then tumbles and is lost against the screen. And the sheep that dot the fellside cry easy on my mind, like an echo of some long gone time. And downstream the lake serene reflects upon this wondrous scene, like a mirror of my dreams. And high above two lovers ride the thermals of this northern sky, and time, it just floats by where eagles fly. Fly. Just floats by where eagles fly. Fly on, you golden prince of the sky, as I lie here entranced in the magic as you glide, and time, it just floats by where eagles fly. And time, it just floats by where eagles fly. Where eagles fly. Fly.
It does not matter whether it's climbing high mountains, sailing around the world, or flying around the world in a small aircraft. People will always wonder and ask, why do you do it? There are many answers to those questions. Some do it for fame and money. Some for the excitement, that adrenaline rush. Some do it for personal reasons to test their endurance and abilities. Lily and Detlef did it to discover what life is all about: friendship, beauty of nature, beauty of people, and for the precious freedom we have to follow our instinct, our dreams and ambitions. It was people like this, pioneers, discoverers, and explorers of the past, that paved the road for them and for the generations of the future. They did it for the love of flying, for those views that can only be seen from high above. It is an ever-changing world out there. Lots of beauty has disappeared because of human hands. They want to remember and share these views with those who cannot see it. They do not fly to break records. They do not fly to count all the places they visited or to count all the miles they have flown. They don't want any trophies to collect dust. They just want to know that on the other side of the world is someone like them, with whom they can share a part of their life, their adventure, and feelings. How many more times will they taxi on different airfields and wonder what will the new landing or takeoff bring to them? When they see those white stripes on the runway, adrenaline starts running through the veins. Up there is that other world, with new encounters and challenges which only birds and aviators can experience. When next winter's rain will end and the last snow will melt, when the flowers will start to bloom and the skylark hovering above the fields announces the spring, the roar of their little plane will announce that it is ready for its next flight, the flight to the northern countries of the old world, Europe. Of course they plan, but does everything go as planned in our lives? Can an adventure be planned? They learned along the way from the past experiences, from the mistakes they have made. They want to enhance their experience. They want to make an even better film from the next flight. And they want to make many more friends along the way, like you who have been following this flight until now.